Hello, this is a Linux tutorial on sandboxing your web browser and isolating websites from one another. The primary programs I'll be using are firejail, which is the sandbox, apparmor, a kernel module for limiting resources. I'll be also using some shell scripts, so you'll need to know your shell and its syntax. If you are not sure, can use this command. I've used it with bash and dash. There is an rm-rf, which is a recursive force delete, so be aware of what directories you're deleting because there's no confirmation dialog, so be careful. There will be source URLs in the description, but no scripts or commands will be in the description. Before I start setting it up, I'm going to demonstrate the difference from using firejail or using Firefox containers. I'm going to my actual desktop. As you see, firejail is running two instances. One of them is my Mastodon account, and one of them is my YouTube account. I'm at a YouTube video on Mastodon, and if I open it in this container, you'll notice that Google is not logged in on this instance because these two web browsers are on different containers. Again, each instance of the Surf web browser is in its own firejail, further isolating them. If for some reason one of these is killed, the other one is still running. It's under its own jail and its own instance and still running. Now comparing that to a Firefox container, you have two containers, but in the system monitor you'll see it's all under Firefox. While it's true that if this one was to crash, it typically can restore, but there can be a scenario where you have multiple tabs open and you're trying to do a time-sensitive task, and if the entire thing crashes because of a different tab, then it could slow you down or get you kicked out of the website when you try to log back in. So if I was to kill this process, and then all of them are gone, and if you come back to restore, as I said, there could be a situation where they won't let you log in. You're less likely to see all your instances crash because they're under different processes and they have isolated their memory using firejail. My source for setting up the apparmor and firejail was Funky Space Monkey. Here's their website. I would suggest you read their article before setting up your sandbox. The first thing you are going to be installing some software, so the first thing you want to do is make sure your clock is correct. Mine is correct as of the video, so I will proceed. I am going to use Synaptic, but use whichever package manager you are using, whether that be apt, pacman, even if you're on Arch. I'm using Dev1, the Debian based. To begin, I'll search for apparmor, and then I'll install apparmor, notify, profiles and utilities. These other ones are dependencies that will install themselves. Then I'd apply. Then you're going to search for firejail. Install firejail in the profiles. I did not need their front end, so I did not install it. And now the next thing to install will be the grub customizer. It's a GUI for grub. It's also laid out in that article from Funky Space Monkey. After all those are installed, you'll be updating your grub using the grub customizer. You'll go to General Settings, and then you'll be duplicating this line from the article. You'll make sure that quiet is the last. And again, there's no extra comma. There's a space and then quiet. Then you'll hit save. And then you will reboot your computer at this time. And you're going to log back in. And you're going to then type AA enabled and hit enter. As you see, based on after rebooting and the grub loading up apparmor, now it is enabled because of the, and you know that because of yes, otherwise I would say no. And then the next step is to make sure AA status is working. So and then you're, as the directions say, you're looking for firejail defaults. I'm scrolling back up. I'm looking through the list, and here's firejail default. So I know my setup is, I see firejail default, so I know that the setup is correct. I'm gonna close this window, and I'm on to my next step. I'll be making a set of directories for the containers. I set up each major website has its own folder to keep them isolated from each other. That is how Google and Facebook do not see each other, because all of Google's information is in one directory and all of Facebook's information will be in another directory. And here's that script, just within a standard text editor, as you see. This next script points PVT into a ramdisk, a RAM file system. That way it never touches the hard drive. So in that instance, it would, any config files or cache will immediately go into RAM and won't touch the hard drive. When you reboot or shut down, it'll all be erased. In my script, I am using rmrf to erase any previous cache before the web browser is reopened. So using a script I found on YouTube, I unfortunately can't recall which video it was, so if anyone knows, please leave that in the comments. If mount, so grep is searching mount for the directory surfjail-private. If it's not there, then it's going to make that directory, and then it's going to mount 4 gigs of RAM allocated to that directory. If you have more RAM to spare, you would change this value, 4G, If you want to use less RAM for your RAM, if you want to use less RAM for your cache, you can lower that. Then you will change ownership to the user that you are. So in this instance, Jane will be the user and Jane will be the owner of that directory. Then the PVT folder is mounted. I make sure the folder is empty before launching my web browser, and then I make sure the folder is empty after the web browser is closed. I have an example of a Surf web browser, and I have an example of a LibreWolf app image. So you have to put firejail/app image if you're ever gonna launch an app image. And again, the -private points to that specific folder to keep it isolated from the other ones. And this private tag is to make LibreWolf go in private mode. Now if I open up the shortcuts, I can show that I'm launching this script using Control-1. That's launching this exact script, PVT shell script, bin/shell /c, and then the script. I linked that to Control-1. Now LibreWolf opened, and if we look in our system monitor, and as you see, LibreWolf is running under firejail that was launched by the script. Well, before I close LibreWolf, I'll show, as you see, when LibreWolf opened, these files were created inside this directory, and there's no sign of LibreWolf being in the home folder. Now when I close LibreWolf, the files were deleted. And now to go back to the shortcut keys, I can show that each command is set to a hotkey. So we showed private. Now Fostodon is the same. Fostodon is its own command. It's tied to its own key binding, and they're all down the line. Just demonstrate adding. You hit add. Firejail surf. This surf, it's under firejail but without its own private folder, so it'll go into the main config folder instead of being segregated. And then hit apply, and then double click the disabled word and make your own shortcut. And then close. If you want to create desktop files so that they appear in your menus or in your Rofi, you would have to create desktop files inside of user share applications. I'll show you that on my main machine. This is the Surf desktop from within user share applications. I opened it using the super user. I just copy this and paste it into the I copied this one and paste it into the unsaved, and then I'll rename this jail and then type out the command. As the same command as the shortcut. Again, you have to launch firejail. You're launching firejail with apparmor support, pointing it to this directory so that all the home directory points to this folder, so anything that Surf creates will be saved into that FOSS directory, and the Surf browser will go to the website fosstodon.com. You can change your icon to any icon you need. You don't need the terminal, and it's a web browser network category you want to. And then you would save this to that same user share applications. And then when you go to use Rofi or your start menu, it would show up as as jail FOSS surf, and then you would know that was the specific Surf browser under your jail. And then you could repeat that one shortcut per sandbox, and you could make as many shortcuts as you would like, each pointing to their own command. Now just for some references, some of the sources are, again, that Funky Space Monkey website with the introduction to apparmor and firejail. I used the suckless surf site on firejail to show how to point to different profiles. The ramdisk explanation was on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't know the exact URL, but that's the script. And again, one more demonstration. I'm going to open the shortcuts, and I'm going to open the mkjail file manager, and then I'm going to have the system monitor open. So going down to the custom shortcuts, if I open Alt 1, Fosstodon's open, and here's Fosstodon's information. I open Alt 3, that's Facebook. Facebook's cache is all in the Facebook directory. They aren't intermingled, they don't see each other. And Google, Alt 2. And if you end up going to Facebook and then go to google.com, you see that they're have different themes, indicating that this browser does not have the same cache as this browser. The two browsers are not sharing the same cache. So they also aren't, so your main Google account wouldn't necessarily see what you're looking at on Facebook and vice versa. And if you look at the system monitor, you can also see each firejail is its own instance, and each browser is its own resources. And this one is the LibreWolf from that private shell script. That covers my tutorial on firejail. Again, I'm on Mastodon browser at fosstodon.org. Have a good day.